Hi, this is my communication observations video report. So I went with a patient to her appointment. She was my future daughter-in-law, and was allowed to sit in during the appointment with her. So the initial interplay between the patient and the provider in establishing a connection was great. The doctor was friendly. He shook her hand. Clarified what they were doing that day. He could have asked her what she preferred to go by. Possibly that's one thing he didn't do. And he did speak briefly to her with his back facing her while he was looking at the computer at her chart, which was maybe just a positioning problem in the operatory. Again, they talked about the procedure, and he asked if she had any questions regarding the procedure. Allowed her to talk a little bit, and then proceeded with the next step of the appointment. At this point, she was visibly nervous and anxious. The doctor, I think, tried to reassure her by stating this was going to be really easy, really straightforward, but possibly in doing that, he may have downplayed her anxiety just a little bit. I think he probably could have explored her anxiety without taking up too much time, and maybe gotten to the core of what she was anxious about. He did, however, urge her to raise her hand at any time during the procedure, and I think this is great because it gave her an opportunity to have control over the situation, which probably was some of her anxiety. In terms of demonstrating interest and empathy, he was great. He did a great job of talking throughout the procedure and frequently asked her how she was doing. He frequently reminded her to raise her hand if she had anything that was bothering her, and that he would stop. He stated throughout the procedure where they were. We're halfway through, we're almost to the end, you're doing great. And he really did encourage her throughout the appointment, and compliment her on what a great job she was doing. And again, always asked her to raise her hand if she was having any discomfort or any problems with anything he was doing, which I think he did a great job with that. Collaboration and education. At the conclusion of the appointment, he talked with the patient about what to expect in the next few days after the procedure. He made a couple comfort recommendations, ice and ibuprofen. I think at this point he may have been able to go into a little bit of explanation as to what those two things did and why they helped. This might encourage a patient to actually follow through with those procedures. He did give the patient a bag with some post-op instructions in it and some floss. And he encouraged the patient to call him at any point in the next few days if she was having any concerns or any discomfort, that he really wanted to know about that. And I think he did a great job with that. This doctor did, in my opinion, communicate very effectively and with a lot of finesse. Very friendly, respectful. He did a great job of chatting during the procedure, connecting with the patient about things that were, important to her job. She's planning a wedding. So he commented several times about those two things. He questioned somewhat during the procedure, kind of personal questions, appropriate personal questions, but maybe he could have posed them in a way that she could answer with a thumbs up, thumbs down, because she did want to respond, obviously, and she wasn't able to because he was, working on her. He might have used some dental terms that she may not have understood or recognized. That could have been something maybe that he could have changed during this appointment. But in general, he did a great job. He had good eye contact with the patient from the beginning of the appointment to the end. He actively listened to her concerns, showing genuine interest and understanding where she was coming from. He was friendly and very respectful. The only thing I would recommend in terms of being critical is that he would reposition the computer if possible so he wouldn't have to turn his back on the patient. Maybe using more questions that could be answered with a thumbs up, thumbs down. And I think that was it. I think those were really the big, the big hiccups that I saw. But in general, he did a great job. Thank you.